So, October 2024, early morning, there's a, I want to say it might have been a Friday, I'm trying to remember. And I was up to kind of helping get everybody ready to go to school or go to work. Gina had to go to work, all that kind of stuff. And um, wasn't feeling that great getting up, but I was doing some stuff and kind of about in the middle of it just said, I just don't feel really good. And so I went in and I laid down the bed. Gina was getting ready for work. And the way I started feeling, she said, I think you should really call 911. You sound really, really bad. So I got my cell phone. I dialed 911 and asked for emergency. I don't even know what I asked for because I collapsed right in the middle of it. And Gina had to she's this was the second time around for her that I've had my heart attack. This was not the first time. And so she's very attuned to these kind of things. And she came immediately, pulled me off the bed, gave me tried to resuscitate me until the medics came. Luckily, they're only like 3 or 4 miles down the road, so they were here really rapidly, which was great. And I think the fact that she resuscitated me and the medics were there right away really saved me a lot. But here's the extraneous part of this is that I got into hospital. They end up, what happened was the first time I had a heart attack, they put in stents. They put in, I don't know, 2 or 3 stents at the time. And in about 2019, they decided that the stents weren't working as well as they wanted to. So I did open heart surgery, which I don't want to put that on anybody. But at that time, they did 3 valves. They had open heart for 3 valves. They The one they didn't was the one that got me on this particular heart attack. So I got to the hospital, got and felt really pretty good about it. And about, I don't know, a day or so later, I was in another recovery room and I had a stroke. And that one was a pretty major one too, in the fact that I couldn't speak or talk or anything like that. And it was a tough thing. And luckily, what happened, there were 3 different places in my brain that it hit, and I was able to recover from that pretty good, even in the hospital. But it was still a lot of misplaced things. But the funny part is, okay, I was in the hospital for about, I don't know, 7 days, 8 days. I don't know. It was quite a long time. Got out of the hospital, and the first week I got out there, I realized I had made a commitment for an interview to be held. And by the time I figured it out, it was going to be the next day. And I tried to go in and cancel it every which way I could, but it wouldn't let me for some reason. So I sat down and I pulled out every sheet of stuff I had, copied stuff, read stuff over, rewrote stuff over, so that when I went on this interview, I wouldn't sound like an idiot. So, what I'm going to play next is this interview I was on. It's with Inspired Living with Autoimmunity. And it's by Julie Michelson. You might want to look it up if you want to, because she talks about autoimmunity, and you might want to look it up and kind of get the feel of it, because it was a really good conversation. But I thought I'd play it now to show you what it was like after just being home a week after all my heart attack and stroke. So that's what I'm putting on now. By the way, this is Focused Healthy Family podcast number 233. And so enjoy this interview, and we'll see at the other side of it. I talked to him about what EFT really is. Think about the building that you're in right now. It has electricity coming into it, usually a big wire that's up above. And that electricity has to go out to all the different things inside the house. Our body works very similar to that, in the fact that we have to deal with all of those. Everywhere in our body needs it. our organs need it, our brain needs it, all of it does. When we are in the midst of it, we have to figure out what's going on and is there a problem somewhere in our body? And if it is, it's stopping that wiring.
That energy flow.
So we have to use the tapping process to bring that back into good flow.
Welcome to the Inspired Living with Autoimmunity podcast, the podcast for high achievers who want to stay sharp, focused, and full of energy despite their diagnosis. With your host, National Board Certified Functional Medicine Health Coach, Julie Michelson, where Julie helps you take your power back from autoimmunity. And now here's your host, Julie Michelson.
Welcome back to the Inspired Living with Autoimmunity podcast. I'm your host, Julie Michelson. And today we are joined by Donald Grothoff, Emotional Freedom Techniques tapping practitioner and mindset coach with Focused Healthy Family. Through Focused Healthy Family, Donald uses his skills in EFT, tapping, breath work, and mindfulness practices to nurture each patient, parent, or individual to the next level in their healing process. In today's conversation, we are talking about EFT and how tapping can be used for spiritual, emotional, and physical health. It's a tool that everyone can use to support their healing journey. Don, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me here. I enjoy it.
I am excited for our conversation, and I would love for you to share a little bit about, I always say, none of us, most of us, at least in this wellness space, did not come to this space because this is what we dreamt of as children. So, I know you're doing a lot of things but all under the umbrella of Focused Healthy Family. And tell me a little bit about how you became the practitioner you are today.
Okay. Well, I have 3 children, and 2 of which have OCD, separately too, not the same. The first one really threw us off base because we didn't know what it was. We didn't even understand what it was. In fact, it started out as her coming down from the bathroom after a fun day of her one of her friends there talking through things and working through things and doing stuff. And she came down to my wife and whispered something in her ear, and I was across the room from her. And the next thing I know, my wife said, "What do you mean you can't step into your room?" And I was like, "Oh my, what is this going to be about, you know?" And it turns out that her room became dirty to her, and not just the same kind of dirty you would find in your house. We have dust bunnies all over the place in our house, so that isn't
Different.
the dirty part of it. But she couldn't step into a room, and her friend was in the room
Oh
at the
boy.
same time.
Okay.
So it made for a very adventure evening for us. My wife had to find rugs throughout the house so we could place them on the way to her bedroom to get her to go to sleep that night. And we really didn't think much about it. We thought it was just a odd situation, something like
Sure.
that. But it just got worse and worse from that. And it led to a place for me. I was non-military, but I always say I, I approached it in a military sense because I was just like, well, we can't do that. We're not, you know, the next night or a couple nights later, we went through the same thing, and one of my pants leg touched her sheet on her bed, and she went ballistic on it, and just everything had to be cleaned, all that kind of stuff. And of course, I'm like, it was 11:30 at night. I wasn't
Right.
about this,
Yeah.
hold on to that. And it just became a battle from there on. And, you know, uh, my second one came after the first one. We thought we had it all settled out.
Mhm.
And it started going down the same path and was like, oh my gosh, but we thought that we could get it all done. We thought we'd had it all settled from the first,
Right.
and that didn't work at all. And
Different kid,
so,
different.
yeah, different kid, all of that.
Yep.
And we also learned too that what my first daughter went through was pandas and
Ah,
pans, which is
yeah.
which then led us to the whole idea of an autoimmune kind of situation versus just a regular one. And what we learned from that is how to communicate, but also then like I said, I have been playing with the toying thing with the EFT, and so we learned that. I got involved in that, got wrapped into classes, finished all that up. And we learned those two factors, especially on what we're doing is learning how to communicate and using the EFT. So it kind of got us into that realm of the unknown and um, this situation, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. And for listeners not familiar, and we're gonna dig in, but EFT is emotional freedom technique, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I
Yeah.
know in our bubble, it's um
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
if to understand it, it's I like to write it down so I don't forget it, but the process of self-tapping on the acupressure points are the meridians of the body to help the spiritual, the emotional, and the physical parts of the body.
Love it. And it is an amazing tool. So if you're listening and you're not familiar with EFT, keep listening because there is we know the nervous system is so directly connected with our wellness overall, but also driving autoimmunity
Yeah.
as one of the drivers. And so EFT can be a great tool. What I love about it is it's free. And you can
Yeah.
do it anywhere. So
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Well,
we'll dig into that a little more. So your kids kind of led you. What were you doing before? I'm just curious, career wise.
I was in I was in web design,
Okay. Yeah. So big
so
shift.
yeah, very big shift because I mean we got into the 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 spiritual realm uh just because of some wanted to do something different, but not anywhere near the idea of taking on as a profession.
Well, amazing. I love that's how the universe works. Whatever your plans are might
Yeah,
not might
yeah,
not be. Um, and so we were chatting really briefly before I hit record, because like I mentioned already, you're not just singularly focused.
yeah.
And so tell me a little bit about how, and I think you kind of already alluded to it, but um, I want to dig in more to the tapping and that direct connect.
Okay.
But tell me a little bit about the mindset coaching and how do all these things play together in your world?
Well, um, I started to work with a doctor here in Charlotte. I'm just outside of Charlotte, but um, and he first started me on some of the basic stuff, but then I also went with another doctor who dealt with the immune system even more so, and got myself involved with him, with Lyme disease. In fact, I used to always say he was the one that I could never pronounce all the different things that he did because there were just
Mhm.
so many different things that he did. But yeah, it got me into learning more and more, and of course, being in that practice, and I also learned, about the food and nutrition. I learned about all the different things that it's more than just what what my medical doctors want to say is it's
Right.
not just about the heart, it's not just about this or that, it's about the whole person. And he helped me to learn that. And then, like I said, getting into some of these bigger, more rambunctious kind of I don't know if that's a good word to use, but these different um, I can't even say the word now.
Techniques,
Um,
tools.
yeah, you know, learning them all helped me to understand how much better it is to go down that that path.
Yeah, we always say it's nice to have a big toolbox
Yeah, yeah,
versus, typically if you go to your GP, it's diagnosis, medication, and that's the toolbox, right? So,
yeah,
um, yeah, which is amazing. I love this is similar to kind of my entry into this whole world too, was exposure with a practice doing cool stuff. And so
yeah.
you just kind of drink the Kool-Aid, the healthy
Well,
Kool-Aid and go deeper and deeper.
well, what I always tell patients too is when they first sit down is I talk to them about what EFT really is. Now, I mentioned the the method that I usually talk about, but I take it a step further, and I tell the client, I said, think about the building that you're in right now, whether it be your house or apartment or whatever. It has electricity coming into it, usually a big wire that's above, and that that electricity has to go out to all the different things inside the house. So it comes in through the little wires that are inside that help it connect all those different places. Well, our body works very similar to that in the fact that um, we have to deal with all of those. Everywhere in our body needs it. Our organs need it. Um, our brain needs it. All of it does. And when we are in the midst of it, then um, we have to uh, try to figure out what's going on and is there a problem somewhere in our body? And if it is, it's stopping the wiring. And so
That
we have
energy
to,
flow. Yeah.
yeah, we have to use the tapping process to bring that back into good flow.
Is there a correct way to practice tapping? Is it um I always say with any practice, like you need the practice first. I have a lot of clients that'll say, oh no, I'll do the breathing when I'm stressed, when I feel stressed, or I'm like, well, no, if you don't have it, you can't grab for it. But um, what is your approach? What do you think is the most effective way to use tapping?
Well, there's a couple of different questions there, but
I know.
um, the first is not to one is I try to get everybody to do it every day.
Thank
And
you.
I know that that's a tough place to be because people, like I say, they think about, well, I'll do the breathing and I'll maybe tap a little bit when I'm running
Need
into
it.
a situation. But the more you do it on a regular basis, the
Mhm.
better it is.
Yes.
Now, what a lot of people don't think about is the tapping and um, how it uh, how, how it works with itself, how it the more you do it, the long-term effects of it are. So the more you do it, the more you put it into effect, I think it has a long-term effect to it. And
Sure.
that long-term effect is um, a response that allows you to kind of hold back things that are coming at you on a regular basis.
Gives you that.
And so the more you do it, the better. But now the other part of it is I tell people not to worry so much about the pattern, even though
Okay.
it's a good pattern. I tell them to, you know, the big part of it is working through what's going on up top.
Gotcha.
Um, and try to use, if they can use the whole process, great. But, not a lot of times it's just a matter of using what you can. And sometimes it's hitting a spot.
Mm.
But it's really working through what's going on up here.
And up in the brain. Can you, for those that are unfamiliar, can you walk us through the tapping points and kind of, um, obviously people watching are gonna, get a better show, but if you can kind of verbally walk us through
Mhm.
as you do it, that would be amazing.
Okay. Well, a lot of times we start on the edge of our hand. And again, I was told not to worry about which hand to go on like that. And a lot of times when we start on the edge of the hand or this end, either one, um, we start out with a phrase of either, you know, even though I feel like I'm, you know, have trouble with this situation, even though that may be true, I totally and completely love and accept myself. So we start out there and we'll go through that about 3 or 4 rounds of that. And then we move up here to the eyebrow and then under the eyes, or I mean, side of the eyes, under the eyes, under the nose, on the chin, on the collarbone, underneath the arm, about 4 inches down, and then top of the head. Those are the kind of the basics of the principle. I mean, there's a few like underneath the uh, the, the breastbone. There's spot here. Um, there's other ones that I show people a lot of times that aren't in the realm, and that's this little area
Mhm.
right here, or the hitting of the hands here. So those are the points we use when we're doing the tapping.
Amazing. And so you mentioned, I love that analogy, by the way, of like the electricity in a building. Um, let's talk a little bit about kind of uses for tapping. I said throughout nervous system, but for people that are unfamiliar,
Mhm.
um, you know, where do you see people using this
Oh
technique?
my.
As yeah, I know, it's everywhere.
Well, because I mean, I started out, I think, in the place of just fear, or well, actually, even before that, I was doing simple tapping for uh, stress related, not stress related, uh, ongoing, like eating a candy bar or
Mhm.
drinking a soda pop that they're just tired of getting. And so we did
So
some
to
rounds
create habit
on,
change, yeah,
yeah,
rewiring. I love
yeah,
it.
and it really worked. Of a lot of the things I've done with it, that one always worked usually within about 10 minutes. I could get somebody to kind of change how they do things. Um, fear is another one. Fear is another one that, of course, I mean, that's anybody that's doing this is running into that. But I mean, one of my favorite, I guess, favorite uh, stories was when I was working in uh, I was working with a group of senior citizens, excuse me, and one lady came up to me afterward and she says, I really need your help in this because I'm supposed to fly to Australia in a couple of months, and my sister-in-law, my father-in-law is living there, and so she came in to work with me, and we did a bunch of work around fear at first, but then I was able to get her onto an airplane here in Charlotte. One of um, the racing teams had a racing uh, their own plane, and I was able to get her on the plane without. They didn't charge me anything. It was really cool. They were
That's
really
nice.
cool, and it was a big plane, and we were able to um, get her past the mindset of the flight, and using that and a couple other things that we did around it, we got her into Australia without a flight, without a hitch.
Which is amazing because if you think about how long that flight is,
Oh yeah, well
it's
I
incredible.
want to say
Yeah.
it's like 24 hours, something like that, and just getting her there was amazing. And what was interesting about it was that this lady my mother-in-law was moving up to the same place where this lady was living. It's just outside of Charlotte. And I was talking to her afterwards, and my mother-in-law said something about this lady that was her her best friend in high school, and that uh, she was talking to her, and she said this lady said that there was some person that led her to go to Australia without a hitch with her flight. And I said, well, I couldn't disclose the person's name. So I said, well, just check with her who it is. And it
Mhm.
ended up being the same lady, and
Yeah,
it was kind of a fun, interesting kind of story.
it is a fun full circle. Yeah, I
Yeah,
love that. That's
yeah.
that. So I mean, powerful tool. And you mentioned, again, you have more than one tool. But if somebody were to incorporate tapping into their daily routine, uh, I have no doubt there's noticeable change. So you mentioned the creating the habit change. You mentioned fear. What else do people use tapping for?
Well, one of the other one, and this is more, I guess, about my tool, is one of the tools that the emotional freedom techniques has is called the movie technique. And it's something that I've used for rape victims. I used it for one or two uh, emotional dealing with the brother who committed suicide.
It's
And
trauma.
it's called trauma. And it is one that takes you through a series of steps to get through it. So it sometimes can take 2 or 3 steps to at least get through the whole process. But it's a process of initially they tell their story, if they can anyway. Um, and in the process of that storytelling, they run through just a small segment of that segment, and then I take it through. First we tell it in the I version, them telling it. The next one is them telling, but it's a different story. It's them telling it as a third party, and then you run it backwards. You add color to it. You add a bunch of different things to it as you go through it, and then when you get to the very end of it, you ask them to go back to the beginning and ask the same story. And a good bit of the time when I do that, they don't, they can't remember the story, or at least it's not anywhere near what it was
Mm,
at the beginning. And
amazing.
it's one of my favorite. I love it's a easy, not easy. I shouldn't say that. It's just a really wonderful way of handling situations. And like I said, I just had one it's been about 3 months ago that we did one on. And like I said, to go from crying through the first
Sure.
section takes a long time.
Hmm.
And then when they get to the end, it's like, yeah, it isn't there at all, or
Yeah.
it's
Or
just
that
doesn't have
charge
any,
is gone. Yeah.
yeah, the whole charge is gone to it. So
That's
that
amazing.
that's one of the really factors that I have about doing the EFT.
Wow. Which is, thank you for sharing that because we tend to think of it as just the tapping,
Yeah.
but there's obviously so much more to it.
Well, and you talked about mindset. When I'm in a mindset coach, it's not just about the tapping. I
Sure.
talk uh, about different things about their lives, different things about them. I go through a lot of different strategies, including things like grounding,
Hmm.
getting them outside and grounding on
Sure.
stuff, learning how to breathe properly, and of course, the mindset is part of that. But it's a lot more to it than just the mindset part of it.
Sure. Well, again, we're the complex integrated
Yeah,
beings, and so there's never just one solution. Or I love that you're incorporating a variety of tools, and it is interesting And I just think it's the world we live in now. Almost every conversation I have, there's some piece that circles back to nature and to us kind of moving a little bit back toward how we were created to live, even if it's not all day, even if it's like you said, grounding, breathing, getting like stuff that we just innately did that was always part of our day that now we have to be intentional about.
Hmm.
But there's healing there. So,
But my wife is starting to join in with me, and we are starting to we've kind of evolved over into the emotional the we call it sandwich generation. It's
yeah,
the people that are raising their kids, but also taking care of their aging parents. So I'm using my all the different things I've worked into. Plus, my wife is an occupational therapist, so she's working through her part of it.
okay,
So we're working together with that.
which is amazing and so needed. And again,
Yeah.
the stressors, as you mentioned fear, I want to throw out the word also anxiety,
Hmm.
as we all, and I love, and you did say stress. I talk to so many people who say, oh, I'm not stressed, you know. So I don't care
Yeah.
how you identify. We all have a stress, and if we're not intentionally managing it, it's managing us, I promise. Whether it's emotionally or physically or spiritually, it will manifest to impact life in a negative way somehow if we're not being intentional.
Well, yeah, well, and we talk. You talk a lot about immunity, which is what your focus is about. It all comes down to fight or flight, really, which is what
Yes.
underneath fight or flight. And what I have found is that we've got to get past the first what it does to our brain.
Mhm.
It shuts down a lot of parts of our brain, so we don't have the immune system to help anything, you know, and what it's doing in our body with all the stressors and strains with our the adrenalines and the cortisols and things like that that are not helping us. And so we've got to just about anything has to get past that.
Right. Absolutely. And we can't heal in that state. Like not only are things
No.
not working optimally, but we know, if you don't make it away from the tiger, it doesn't matter if you heal, it doesn't matter if you digest lunch, it doesn't matter if you reproduce. And so it's that kind of chronic exposure. And I personally think that's, one of the immense benefits. Of course, there's the trickle down, and we don't have enough time to talk about all of the benefits of using a technique like tapping. But that alone, and then you get the ripple effect of just stepping out of that stress state for a moment.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, no,
powerful.
oh yeah, and until we can get that past that, like I said, that everything else becomes null and void until you get past that.
What about pain? Do you have clients that use tapping for chronic pain?
Yeah, well, chronic pain is one that's always kind of get me because a couple of things about it. One is the the pain that people find, and I don't know if you see this, but when I get somebody that is um, going deep into themselves, uh, going after some emotional that's been way back from whenever, they the body tends to throw out pain to stop them from
Mhm.
going through that pain.
It's protection. Yeah,
Yeah, okay, yeah, so that's one place that I can, definitely work with pain, and I can't necessarily stop somebody who broke their arm and I can't go like this and boom, it's back together.
please don't tap on someone's broken arm. That's rude.
Yeah, no, but I can work on the physical part, where they can't sleep well, you
Right.
know, they're stressed out about something. I can help in doing and making that faster than what it was before. And
Well,
that's where I see part of what I help with them in pain.
Yeah, which I love. And I know from experience and clients' experience, again, because we can't separate, we are not separate systems.
Yeah.
But if we use a tool like tapping, whatever the intention is, whether it's to improve sleep, reduce stress, all the things, you said, like, you can even heal a broken arm faster. Of course you can, because you're getting into a healing state when you
Hmm.
step out of the fight or flight or freeze. So it makes perfect sense. And I do see a reduction in the experience of pain, we could say it that way, for
Yeah.
people with chronic pain if they're using a tool. And it doesn't, there are a variety of tools. So, if somebody's listening and you've played with tapping, and I would suggest play with it again. If it didn't resonate with you the first time, try it differently, try it again. But whether it's tapping, meditation, breathing, any tool that you're using on a regular basis as a practice can help reduce the experience of chronic pain and set you up to heal at the same time.
Well, yeah, and well, the other part about the pain is, somebody that started out 20 years ago with something and is still going with it at this time,
Yeah,
the mind is way past that. It's
yeah,
not about the mind. I mean, at this point, they've probably got a lot of different things going on that are physical pain because they've been doing it for so long, but they've got something else going on that needs to be worked on to
yeah,
get cleared.
yeah. And yeah, I think of it as like being stuck in a loop almost,
Yeah, yeah,
and the amazing thing is we are designed to heal,
hmm,
so which is one of those kind of, some of us have to experience it to believe it. I was that I was that person. Um, but I went from 11 years of chronic pain to zero. So it is possible without doing anything differently than what we talk about all the time on the podcast, a little of this, a little of that. And,
yeah,
if you're going to be in line for fast food every day, and you're there's no one thing that's going to compensate
hmm,
for living a healthy lifestyle. But we don't have to do all of it at once.
yeah.
And so, again, I love the portability of, if we can just,
These
we
little
always
things.
have the tools we need for tapping with
Yeah,
us.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Well, and
yeah,
and like you said, the other thing is we mentioned before, but I like to get somebody into more than one tapping process because some I've had some that have immediate feedback, but a lot of times it takes two or three at least to get them to start seeing some change. So yeah, to think one change is going to do you good isn't necessarily the truth of it.
yeah, we need to step away from looking for that magic solution, whether it's a
Yeah,
pill or the one thing. Um, and most of us, it took some time for us to get to whatever condition we're in. So, we're not talking about magic.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I love that though. And what about, you mentioned your journey started as the parent, right? You started, your focus was, as so many of us, we learn most from raising children in one respect or another.
Yeah,
Um, does do you, tapping, I guess, is there anyone who couldn't tap, shouldn't tap? Um,
not really. I mean, to be very honest with you, I mean, there are people that, we call them now my mind's got it, um, the, the, the one that says, yes, but, there you go. Yes, but, that was our big, yes, but, if they're doing that, then they're probably not going to, and that's their thing, but everyone
yeah.
can tap. Yeah, I mean, there's no reason for it. I, it seems very, very logical to do, but that's just me. I'm prejudiced.
Have you, I don't know if you work with children at all. Um, have you,
I,
or do you have knowledge or experience of kids and tapping?
yeah, I've done some. I've done more lately. Probably it's been, like I say, from my own children, but um, I tend to like teen years if I use
Hmm.
anything. Before then, I usually, before like 10 or so, I usually draw it back to the parents more than I do to the kids. I mean, I'll have fun with them and stuff, but I
Gotcha.
haven't done as much lately, no.
Gotcha. Well, and I always say any of these tools that we're giving kids, hopefully helps them prevent needing to seek out somebody like yourself or me as an adult. Like,
Well, yeah.
we can arm our children with some of this and just make it a normal part of life, and they can avoid some of the pitfalls that many of us
Oh,
have
yeah.
fallen into. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I love that. So we're at that point in the conversation, and you've already sprinkled in lots of goodness. But listeners are trained. What is one step that listeners can take to, and it could be anything, it doesn't even need to be something you've mentioned yet. But one step they can take starting today to improve their health.
Well, the one step that I mentioned um, to all my patients is I do. This may be a a, a message that may be beyond, but I like to do a morning routine,
Hmm.
and in that routine, I like to do the breathing. So I incorporate the I use it as what is it 4,
Four,
7, and
seven.
8. You
Okay.
know,
Four,
now
seven, eight.
I don't tell anybody to do this right off the bat necessarily because it can be a little tough off the bat. But I close my eyes, I do the deep breathing. As I do the deep breathing, I text, and it doesn't matter which place I'm texting at, but I'm hitting a place.
It's tapping.
And what I tell people in doing is to go inside yourself in doing it. So two different things I look at. One is the emotional side, and the other is physical side. On the physical side of it, I like to see what I'm doing, what's going on with me and where are my tensions at in my body. Um, and then on the emotional side, I look at how do I feel? Am I feeling something that's good? Um, or if I'm not. And on both sides of those, what I do on the physical side of it, I will literally, and again, I've got my eyes closed. I imagine as I inhale the breath, I inhale it to where the pain is, even though I know that's not necessarily the truth. It doesn't necessarily go to my knee necessarily.
Right. But you can direct it there.
Yeah. And then as I exhale out, I imagine some of the pain going out with it. So that's on the emotional side. On the physical side, I look at, how do I need to take care of this? If it's in a good place, then I'll take a few more minutes and I finish up. But if not, I take it a little further and then I'll extend my sense into more of the tapping to ease through whatever I might be going through so that it starts my day out at a better place. So that's one way that I could give somebody right now that I think it doesn't involve a lot of tapping to it necessarily,
Right.
but it does involve the breathing. And like I said, then it's just involved in going into yourself and figuring out how to handle that, how to deal with that.
Which is it's so important. I love the kind of all encompass. You're hitting a lot of things. I like stacking, and that there's a lot of stacking in there.
Okay.
Um, because you're doing a lot of goodness at once.
Hmm.
So it doesn't have to take a lot of time, but you're creating this check-in, stress management, setting your day up. And I think the check-in is so key. So many people don't check in with
Mhm.
themselves emotionally, physically, and it's such an important part of wellness
Mhm.
is and healing. And so um, I love it. That's and you said it, and I'm going to highlight again. Like if you don't have a breathing routine, you don't have to start with 4-7-8. You know, start somewhere,
Yeah,
and just do it. Just keep doing it, and I promise. I always find with the breathing too. You mentioned it with the tapping. You might not feel something the first time, but it doesn't take a year. Like that's for sure to notice some change. And so that's a great spoken like a coach is a morning routine. I love it.
yeah,
It
yeah.
was amazing. Donna, I so appreciate your time, your wisdom, you sharing some of your journey with us. For people that are listening on the go and aren't going to check out the show notes, where's the best place for them to find you?
Simply go to focusedhealthyfamily.com and just about everything is there, I think, including my phone number and all of that. One other, and one other thing that I hope if we have a podcast too, focusedhealthyfamily.com. And so we'll hopefully we're going to trip what we've done here and bring it on over to there and
Love
show it to
it.
there too. So, yeah. So all of that. And of course, we're on all the, I don't
All
know,
the channels. Yeah.
yeah, all of them. It's hard to keep up with all of them, but yeah, we're on all of those too. So yeah,
Amazing.
this was wonderful.
Well, I thank you so very much.
Well, I hope you really enjoyed the podcast. I hope that you can possibly leave us some comments and any questions you have about the EFT or what I talked about with my interview. We'd love to have those kind of things to talk about. Leave a comment, um, subscribe to our podcast wherever you might be hearing it. You know, um, we put on these every week at on Thursday at 8 o'clock. And if you have problems with anxiety or stress yourself, you might want to check out my program, my EFT Discovery series that, a lot of people call EFT, it's weird, but it works because it does. The more you stay with it, the more it works. And that's really the good part about it. And that's really what we talked about a lot in this interview was the EFT. So if you have that kind of issue, don't hesitate to check us out. You can go to our website. It's at focusedhealthyfamily.com. And we also have a podcast, focusedhealthyfamilypodcast.com. Either one, you can check it out. If you're interested in senior information, resources and things like that for seniors, you can go up to our website and look at our senior, all about the senior part of our business. And if you're looking for somebody to come talk to your group, I can do that. I can come to whether it's a support group or a community group or a church group or whatever the organization is. I can come speak about EFT and about the positive effects of it and give you a good talk. So check it out. Go to our website if you want to book one. Just check out our website. You can book it there, and I'd love to talk with you. And we're on Facebook, Focus Healthy Family, Instagram at Focus Healthy Family One, and check us out. And we're on YouTube at Focus Healthy Family. And remember, how you talk to your kids and your family today shapes their future and yours.